Today, we're looking at a tale of two completely different worlds, but seen through the eyes of just one type of animal, the endangered ring-tailed lemur. It's a story that really pits meticulous international protection against just blatant, illegal exploitation. And it shows us just how fragile the future of a species can be. So, on one side, you've got this carefully planned, totally legal transfer of 4 lemurs between zoos. It's like a textbook example of conservation in action. But on the other side, a dramatic rescue of a single lemur named Vasya from a sketchy anti-cafe in Moscow. We're talking about 5 lemurs in total, but they were living in 2 completely different realities.
So let's start with the case that really brought this whole contrast to light. Let me tell you about Vasya, a lemur who was being marketed as, of all things, a psychologist.
Yeah, you heard that right. Vasya wasn't a pet, and he definitely wasn't part of any conservation program. He was the star attraction at a place called the Lemur Cafe, Vasya, pretty much being rented out for photo ops and events. And the authorities found him being kept illegally right in the heart of the city. I mean, the way they exploited him was just so brazen. The cafe was literally advertising these meetings with Vasya as some kind of therapy, and they were charging the same price you'd pay for a session with an actual human psychologist. This wasn't some shady back alley deal, it was a public business. So, thankfully, this whole operation got shut down. It turned out the owner had 0 legal paperwork for Vasya, and the conditions he was living in were just completely wrong for a wild animal. It actually took a big joint effort. We're talking environmental authorities, the prosecutor's office, and experts from the Moscowzoo all working together to finally step in and get him out of there.
Now, Vasya's story is obviously pretty compelling on its own, but to really understand why it triggered such a massive official response, we need to kind of zoom out and look at the big picture for his entire species.
So what is it about this really charismatic little primate from Madagascar that puts it so at risk?
Well, for starters, the ring-tailed lemur is only found in one place on the entire planet, the southern forests of Madagascar. And according to the top authority on this stuff, the IUCN, its official status is endangered. And that's not just some label, it's a serious 5-alarm fire kind of warning.
The species is basically facing a triple threat. First, their forest homes are literally disappearing because of land clearing and drought. Second, they're hunted for meat. And third, as we just saw with Vasya, they're captured illegally to be sold off as exotic pets. All of these things together are pushing them right to the edge.
And if you want to know just how bad it is, look at this number. Scientists have only been able to find 8, just 8 wild populations left that have more than 100 lemurs in them. On the entire planet. At this stage, every single lemur matters. A lot. Okay, so now let's flip the coin. Let's shift gears from Vasya's chaotic, unregulated world to the other side of our story. The highly structured, very formal system that's designed to protect these exact animals. This system is run by a global agreement called CITES. Now, ringtail lemurs are on its highest protection list, which is known as Appendix I. What that means is that any international commercial trade is basically banned. The only exceptions are for really specific circumstances, like scientific research or approved conservation programs.
And here's a perfect example of that system working exactly as it should. 4 male lemurs, all born in zoos, were moved from Norway to a safari park in Denmark. But before they went anywhere, a big scientific assessment was done to make sure the move wouldn't hurt the species in the wild. All the right paperwork was filed, approvals were given. It was all so orderly and transparent. It's the complete, total opposite of what happened to Vasya.
So, let's head back to Moscow, because Vasya's rescue wasn't the end of his story. Nope, it was actually the beginning of a real push for change to stop more cases like his from ever happening again.
The general director of the Moscow Zoo, a woman named Svetlana Akulova, really seized the moment. She used all the attention from Vasya's case to push for much stricter rules for places like those anti-cafes that keep wild animals.
A key part of her plan was to hit these businesses right where it hurts, their bank accounts. The fines being proposed are huge, up to 1 million rubles for a business. The goal here is pretty simple. Make the penalty so high that the risk just isn't worth the reward anymore.
But Akulova didn't just stop there. She made a direct appeal to the public, really empowering them to be part of the solution. She reminded everyone that they can and should report anytime they suspect an animal is being kept illegally. She basically turned the whole community into watchdogs for these animals.
And all of this leaves us with one last really crucial question. The future of the ring-tailed lemur is being written right now in these two parallel stories. One is all about careful global cooperation, and the other is about illegal commercial exploitation. The fate of this entire endangered species really just hangs on which one of these two worlds we ultimately allow to win.